Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another weekly wrap-up, the last weekly wrap-up of 2021. But as I said last week, this is week 53. Technically all the books that I'm mentioning in here, I finished them on, like, they were finished by December 31st, yesterday, but because of how I do these, like, technically it will fit into 2022, but we're going to call it like week 53 of 2021. And then next week will be the first full week of 2022. And I know this doesn't really matter, but it hurts my brain because, as I explained before, when I did week 1, I don't know why I'm using these. When I did week 1 of 2021, it was like a week where like the first was in the middle of the week. So I just started it as the first week of 2021, and then now that we've made it to the end of the year, I have 53 weeks to do. So we're going to call this one week 53. It's wrapping up everything that I read for the rest of December. And then later this week, you'll be getting my December wrap up and stats and my 2021 complete wrap up, talking, breaking down all the stats that I have. And then I have a couple other videos that I just wasn't able to fit them into December. So they will still like be labeled as kind of like December videos, but whatever, they'll be great. Like, I did a end of the year Q&A, and literally I had so many videos to come out that it did not get done. Like, I'm not able to post it yet, but technically I recorded it at the end of the year. So anyway, you guys won't care about this, but whatever. We have some great stuff to talk about real quick at the beginning, as well as the awesome books that I read this last week of 2021. But we have 6 new channel members this week, which is bonkers. You guys are so generous. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. I know part of this is coming from Jessica at Peace Love Books, because she launched her channel memberships and she has been very generous in shouting me out. So thank you, Jessica. I mean, I'm happy to help anytime. I'm happy to help other creators to do better, to learn. And I mean, Jessica has taught me so much. So the fact that I'm able to give back to her even a tiny bit by like explaining some stuff to her, like, seriously, it is no big deal at all. But I know for a fact some of you probably heard of me from her. But let's go through some of our new channel members. If you don't know, there are 4 different channel membership levels. You're able to check those out on either your desktop or if you have a phone. It's down by my subscribe button. There's a little join button and you can take a look at these. So there are 4 different levels you can join at, and each of them has different perks for being a part of my channel. And it really helps support me and make sure that I am, compensated in some way for the time that I put into this channel, because a lot of the stuff we talk about on here, surprisingly, advertisers don't want their stuff on, so I don't always get the best ad traffic for some of my videos. So by having channel members who consistently support me every month, it really supplements my income from YouTube. So anyway, sorry, I just like to tell people that, because when you're signing up for this, that $2 or $3 you decide to give, it really adds up for me. But also, subscribing to my channel, liking this video, leaving a comment, that helps me with the YouTube overlords and helps there to be, better paying ads on a channel, because they're showing that, like, oh, there's people watching and engaging with this channel. So just thought I would share that, because people ask those questions sometimes. So anyway, moving on, we have 6 new channel members. We have Susan Wilson, who joined at the Sassy supporter level. Susan was actually I did a live chat this morning for everyone, and I was able to thank Susan there. But thank you so much, Susan. I've enjoyed chatting with you at different live shows we've had, so thank you for choosing to support my channel. Amy Gilman and Miss Eleanor Shelby joined at the Faded Friend level. Thank you both as well for being here. I mean, Faded Friend level is great. Hopefully we'll see you at some of the live chats that I hold that are just for my channel members at that level. The next one will actually be next Sunday, so we can hang out one-on-one. It'll be great. Rox A joined at the Sassy supporter level. Thank you so much for choosing to send some money my way. That means so much. Alexandria joined at the dedicated diva level. Thank you so much. Make sure you stick around to the end. You'll see your names in the credits now. And then someone who joined just this morning is Miss Voracious Reader, joined at the Faded Friend level as well. So thank you so much. It means the world to me, and it's also fantastic when we get to do shout outs for 6 new members. That is amazing. I really hope to grow channel memberships in the new year, possibly even adding a new tier. I'm still brainstorming how to do that. You know, it took me a long time to do channel memberships because I just really want to make sure that whatever content I provide, that I'm not excluding anyone who can't pay for something. You know, like there really isn't too much about my channel memberships that really exclude other people. It's really more just about, you know, getting to see stuff earlier, being able to talk to me a little more freely, because, you know, we're in a smaller group of people. But yeah, also those I just mentioned, if you have Discord, please message me on there so I can get you into the private channels, because sometimes your names don't match and so then I can't add you. So please reach out to me for that. So anyway, okay, enough of the business. Let's get in. Also, I did my makeup on the live show this morning. I'm really liking it. I got this new lip stain, which I've been talking a lot, so it's not my lip, but it's this like red bronze kind of, and I really like it. I feel the glow today. I feel the glow. Okay, so let us do this. Let us dive in to these books, okay? We don't have a ton to talk about. I think we have 10 because it was a very busy week, but it's all fun stuff. So let's go ahead. So the first book I want to talk about, let me scooch over to leave room up here. I'm drinking my coffee too, because I did that live show while I was doing my makeup. I was literally talking for 2 hours straight, so my throat's already a little bit tired. I read Psychopaths Pray by V.F. Mason. This book I was very intrigued about. I've had it in my Kindle Unlimited TBR for a while now because it was in a list for psychopath romances. So back when I made a taboo recommendation for psychopath romances, and this one was on there. And this is about actually like 2 FBI agents. Well, one of them is an agent and one of them is like a consultant with the FBI kind of, and the FBI agent is actually a serial killer. And he sets a trap for this consultant because there's a lot of setup to this, but he had bumped into her at a certain point and decided to make her a victim. And then when he found out, when he did his research on her, he realized that he could actually bring her closer to him by getting her involved in a case in his area. So I gave this 3 stars. Here's the thing. And I read this book with Tiffany from Neverland Pixie. We both read it at the same time. And my biggest issue with it is that there wasn't that point in this book where I believe the heroine found something good in this hero. She's very attracted to him. She felt connected to him in some way, but the psychopath never had this kind of like break for her where he's willing to not necessarily give up what he's doing, but like change for her. So I couldn't connect with him because I know he's a psychopath, but here's the thing. When we're reading psychopath romances, we don't want them to be perfectly accurate to what someone who is diagnosed with psychopathy to be. We don't want that for real. You know, we want the version who will like kill everyone for you and want you, you know? So this one, he was just maybe a little too much, you know? But again, this is another one in the same way I say that like the books by S.T. Abbey, which I have not read all of them, but I've read the first one. They remind you of like a Criminal Minds episode. This one definitely does that, and not in a bad way. When it was over, I didn't believe the HEA, you know, and as a romance lover, that's a big deal for me. So this wasn't horrible. If you like thrillers, but you want the woman with the villain, or you want that kind of vibe, like this could be a good one for you. And it's in Kindle Unlimited. Then I did a reread of MacRieve by Kresley Cole. This is not the book right before Monroe. This book actually fits in after Lothair and Shadow's Claim, but like before the like Morier books. And this is one of the, you know, Like books. MacRieve is a Like. He was tortured on Torture Island, and he has a twin named Monroe. So I wanted to reread this book because I didn't remember a lot about Monroe. I know that he was in a dangerous situation, but I don't remember. And I'm really glad I reread this because Monroe being MacRieve's twin, we see a lot of Monroe in this book. And so this is a romance between Will MacRieve and Chloe Todd, who is actually the daughter of Commander Webb, who was the leader of Torture Island, where they tortured all the immortals, and she's his fated mate. So there is something about her that's even more dangerous and terrifying to Will than her being the daughter of Webb. So that's what we'll say about that. This was absolutely wonderful. This was a 5-star reread, and as I feel like I'm bragging about it now, but I will get to read an arc of Monroe because I was invited to her ARC team. Well, I applied for it, but like I was invited to the ARC team, which I did not think I would get. I'm being 100% honest. I applied for it and I was like, there's going to be 1,000 people who apply for this, but I got in. Like I think 80 to 90 of us are going to get to read arcs of Monroe, and I'm fucking excited. So I'm really glad I reread this because I did not know that I was getting that. I found out on like the 30th or something. So anyway, this was great. Reread, 5 stars. If you haven't read Immortals After Dark, but you love paranormal romance, I don't know what you're doing. You probably have. And maybe if you've read 1 or 2 books and you didn't like them, I still say try another one, because sometimes it takes people 3 or 4 books to find the Kresley Cole that really grips them. And then once it does, you're gripped and you're in, you know? Then I got to read an arc of Bite Marks by Jenika Snow. This book is book 5 in her Lycan series. So it's actually kind of funny because this one's a vampire one. But this is book 5. This book comes out January 24th. And this was one that I'm really glad I asked for the arc for this one. So there's, like I said, there's 4 previous books. The first one is basically novella length, and then the other ones are like regular length. And they start off about this family of half-blood. They're half Like, half vampire. They have a vampire mother, a Like dad. He's the king of the Likes. He has 3 sons that they are more, they're I see now I'm saying Like because it was Kresley Cole. Lycan. Wolves, you know what I mean. Their wolf side is stronger, and then there's a daughter who her vampire side is stronger, and they all have fated mates. But these half vampire, half wolf children, they have an uncle named Adrian who is a vampire. He is their mother's brother. And we'd seen him in previous books. He's a very bad guy, but he loves his sister, and he has a tentative truce with his brother-in-law, but there's a lot of history there. And he finds his fated mate, who is a human, and he goes about luring her in. The best part about these series, oh, I fucking love these, is it's a virgin series, because the like vampires and werewolves basically, I don't know if this is the wolves too. I think it is, but they don't get aroused until they meet their mate. So it's a hammer between the crotch when they meet their mate for the first time, because it's like, whoa, that thing has not worked before. And then it does. So this is like the baddest ass vampire who's 150 years old or so, and his junk comes awake for the first time, and it is this petite, tiny, beautiful human. He is like 6'8", he is terrifying, and there's this sweet human who also, she's human, but she has thought herself kind of asexual because she's never been attracted to a man before either, because, you know, her being the mate of a vampire, which obviously she doesn't even know that they exist, but she's never been attracted to a man before either. So they've both been dormant. And they meet each other at a club when she's actually there with her friends, and they both like awaken at the same time. And it's kind of just like, you know, she doesn't know what's happening, but he does. And then this is their romance. This is very naughty. There's a lot of trigger warnings for this one. This one has some degradation kink. This has blood play. This has dangerous situations. There's a little bit of dubious consent. So this one has a lot of things. But overall, this series is very fun. It's very campy. It's very sexy. It's very like, I will rip out my own heart for my mate kind of shit. And I love it. So I gave this book 5 stars. part of it because it's an arc and like there wasn't any real reasons why I would deduct a star. So I was like, this is a 5-star read. It was delightful. And I highly recommend this whole series if you love paranormal fantasy books. Jenika Snow, these are wonderful. I want to read more of hers for sure. Then I had done my reread of, I actually forgot to grab this one. I did my reread of Lessons in Sin by Pam Godwin. This was a 6-star read. This was the last book that I was rereading for my favorites of the year. That video is now up. It went up on Friday, the last day of December. You can go watch that. Make sure you give that video some love. That is my video that usually does the best every year. It's one of the best because everyone wants to know what your favorites are. So definitely go check that out. But I finished my reread of Father Magnus and Tinsley, and I had a great time. I love this couple so much. Let's put that back. All right, and then now we're going into some historicals because I was just in the mood for these. So one of my goals in 2022 is I made a list of these historical romance authors where I own their books and I want to read a lot of them. So I went to Libby, which is my, it's a Audible app. You can also get ebooks from it as well. And I actually pay for a Boston library card, I think is the one I have. So I have access to quite a few books. And I just went through and I requested as many as I could. And so I'm going to try to get through these. And so one of the authors on that list was Susan Enoch. And so I decided to start the Lessons in Love series. This is actually one that was recommended to me like 2 or 3 years ago, and I've had it on my shelves ever since. And this is a trilogy about these 3 friends who all want to teach some naughty boys a lesson. So this one is about Lady Georgina Halley and about Viscount Dare. Now they had a interaction with each other 6 years ago where they kind of had a foiled attempt to be together. And in this time where they were with each other, Lord Dare actually took a bet that he could take her virginity. And when she found out about this, of course, she was heartbroken. And now it's 6 years later and she wants to teach him a lesson. And so she's going to try to make him believe that he's in love with her, and then she's going to like embarrass him. But the thing is, number one, he never told anyone that he took her virginity. He just didn't, because he really did like her. It's kind of one of those, like when you read a book, a college set romance, where, they always fall in love with them by the time they take their virginity, but then they find out of the bet, that bet happened anyway. That's basically what this one was. That's what happened 6 years ago. And now he's supposed to find a wife because he really needs one, and she wants to teach him a lesson. So I had a great time with this book. I gave it 4 stars. The audiobook was wonderful. The tension and banter between them was great. This has a couple pet peeves I have for historicals, particularly ones written in like this one came out in 2002. And one of my issues is that there's no epilogue of their HEA. They get engaged on the last page of the book. And I just don't love those because I want there to be more of them getting to be happy. And I know some people are okay with that. So the tension and the fun, this was still pretty sexy, pretty fun. I think you could still have a great time with it, but that's why it was 4 stars for me. But the banter, the sexual tension, the hijinks were very fun in this book. So those were all the books that I am counting as my December ones, because I did start some books as January. You guys know that I did this. I ended the month on December 30th because I needed to do my wrap-up video and everything. But technically I read these in December. So I have a few more to talk about. And the main reason why I stopped because I had a 6-star book that I did not want to get lost in the end of the year, okay? And that book is The Temptation of a Highlander by Elisa Braden. Came out on December 28th. I read it that day, and I ordered the copy in. It's shiny, so it's gonna look weird when I hold it up. But this is book 3 in the Midnight in Scotland series. I freaking love this book. I'm gonna put up a picture instead of holding it since it's shiny. But this book is about Campbell McPherson and Clarissa Meadows. So Clarissa Meadows is a really good friend to Kate, who was the heroine of book 2, and she is being stalked by this creeper, okay? And I say this in my review on Goodreads, there's a lot of animal harm in this book. The man coming after her is a psychopath, okay? This book has serious, like, thriller vibes in it. And I'm not kidding. It really is. It has all the things you love about a historical and a Highlander book, but there are some serious thriller elements in this, and the guy's very dangerous. And one of the ways he shows that is by killing innocent animals, okay? So in the prologue of this book, there is the death of her cat. Like, I'm going to put it out there because it's in the prologue, and it's not, like, this is the kind of, like, spoiler that's not, like, a huge plot point, but I'm very sensitive to animal death, and so this is a big deal to me because there's a death of her cat by this psychopath, and he leaves this animal behind for her to find in a gruesome way. And this continues to happen. There is senseless animal death by this person. Now, I'm not saying that it's senseless for the plot, because it really does up the stakes without having to kill off, like, members of our cast, you know, our cast of characters, but by taking out these innocent animals in these cruel ways that this man is killing them, you really feel scared. Okay, you really feel scared. So that is, like, the biggest trigger warning for me, is that this is the kind of stalking and danger that's not the sexy dark romance kind. Like, this is the villain who's doing it. So there's trigger warnings for, like, that kind of, like, gaslighting that we're remembering, and then that. And then there's also some fertility issues supposedly for our hero. And I feel like we don't get to dig into that too often because it's usually the women that are really feeling it. So I just want to put those out there. But anyway, what is this about? So Clarissa's being stalked. She goes to stay with Kate and the McPhersons in, you know, because Kate is married to Broderick. She goes to Scotland to stay with them. And she knows that this man is going to follow her eventually. Like, she knows. And once it becomes clear that he has found her, Kate's family decides that Clarissa should go stay with Campbell, who I think is the oldest brother. He might be the second oldest. I don't know, but he's one of the brothers. And he has this rundown home. He only has, like, 1 or 2 servants, and his place isn't habitable for someone to come stay, and there's not going to be a chaperone. There's all of these things, but the family is like, she needs to stay there. Now, they already have a serious attraction going. Like, our heroine, she is someone who just, like, blurts out what she's thinking and feeling, and so I very much, like, felt for this heroine too, right? Because she feels so bad that she's endangering these people that have been so kind to her, her friends who she loves, but she doesn't know what to do because this man who's coming after her, he's from a very well-known family who has connections all over London. She's already tried going to the police. No one is listening to her. And so she knows that if she doesn't, like, remove herself, he's going to get his hands on her. So she runs, you know, and she runs with it's her grandmother or her aunt. And so she ends up in a forced proximity situation with Campbell, and we'll see how it goes from there. This is nice and spicy. I will be doing spice ratings in the new year. I forgot. So this was the first book that I gave a spice rating to. And I gave this one, like a 3.5 spice. So for me, that means, like, there was some frequent sex scenes, multiple positions, dirty talking. It was a good time. So I'm still going to have to get used to my spice scale, so don't mind me. But yeah, I gave this one 3.5 spice. So it was a pretty good time. And yeah, also something I love about Campbell is he is a humongous man. He's like 6'9". He's very big hands. Clarissa is very in love with his hands. She remarks on them a lot of times, and it just makes him, like, laugh a little bit. But he also has a bit of the sight. So there's a little bit of mystical, magical. There already is in the first 2 books, because there's this character named Mrs. McBean who will, like, give these, like, prophecies basically. And I really like it because Campbell takes them, like, seriously, because he also has, like, subtle things that he knows about that. So that was a 6-star book, in case I did say. Then I was continuing with the Lessons in Love. series. So this one I also listened to on audio. There is the back cover on this one. This one is London's Perfect Scoundrel. And so this one was very like interesting. So the hero in this one is called Saint, and he's the Marquis of St. Aubin. And he is like, he's mean. Like this guy, he's a villain. Okay, he's a villain. And he runs the Heart of Hope orphanage, which was left to him by his mother. And he does not want it. He is trying to close it, actually. And then our heroine is Evelyn Rudick, and she wants to volunteer at this orphanage, and she wants to like raise money for it and help it. And she keeps getting blocked by Saint at every opportunity because he doesn't want her raising money for it, because he wants to close it. And he's very hard-hearted. He's very much a Scrooge. And he keeps trying to blackmail her into, well, if you want to volunteer here, you need to be my mistress. And she's like, no. And also her brother and her mother, they want to use her to push forward her brother's political career. So they very much want to use her for those ends. And she really starts this book as kind of like, I wouldn't necessarily call her a weak character, but she's definitely a people-pleasing character. And it's through dealing with Saint and being like willing to stand up to him that she's really able to find her backbone. And I really love that about her. This one was also a 4-star read for me. I gave this one also like a 2.5 star for spite. Well, I think I gave this one a 3-star because there were some interesting situations where sexy times were happening. There was a bit of like blackmail. There was even a kidnapping part to this book. Not by the hero. So it was very interesting. It was a fun time. But again, this was one where they don't get together until the last page of the book. I mean, they're together as in like there is sex happening. As I said, it's 3 spice is what I would say. But they are not like on the same page until the last page. So there's one more book in this trilogy, and I do plan to read it soon. I haven't been able to find the audiobook of it yet though. And that's how I was listening to that. So it could be delayed if I can't find the audiobook for it. Okay, then I had a complete surprise of a book, okay? I was planning to do a reading vlog this weekend, which I am doing a reading vlog. And then Sam Mariano drops this book. This book is coming out with like Heart of Darkness romance, I think is going to be this group. And they are a group of authors who is putting out books in this like Heaven and Hell club series. And I actually read a different book in this series by Adelaide Forrest, and it was called Wrong. And it was a taboo dad's best friend age gap. And this book got dropped. There was no warning about it. I had no idea. I just saw it on my Kindle and I was like, what the actual fuck was this? So Descent is a psychopath romance, and it is a lot like Untouchable. Okay, so I'm saying it. It's a lot like Untouchable. The way I describe it in my vlog, the way I've described it to people asking, because, you know, of course, it's by Sam Mariano, and I said it was giving me Carter Mahoney vibes, so everyone's like, oh my god, did it live up to that? What is it? Because, you know, Untouchable is one of my favorite books of all time. It probably is, maybe. It's very close to being like my favorite dark romance ever. Maybe only Pam Godwin, like, comes between that. And so, you know, everyone's asking me where it fits. So the way I'm describing it is that this book, Calvin Cutler is the villain, because he's a villain. He's a villain. He's not a hero. He is what Carter Mahoney would be if Carter hadn't met Zoe when he was 18. Okay? Because, sorry, there's going to be a lot of comparing, but there's going to be a lot of comparing because they're by the same author and it's kind of the same story, but escalated, okay? So if you've read Untouchable, you know that's a high school bully romance, but it's more of like, it's a dark romance. Like, it says it's a dark high school bully romance, but high school is just the vehicle. Like, them being in high school is where the forced proximity comes in. It's where Zoe can be under Carter's control because she has to go to school. She has no other option. She has to keep seeing him, and so he's able to manipulate and use her because she has to go to school. So, and in that, because they meet when they're 18, and Zoe is fearless in trying to figure him out, you know, trying to question, why does he do these things? Why does he want to manipulate her? Why is he forcing her? Like, all of these things. She's fearless in that. I do believe that, I'm not saying he's a perfect man now, but she is able to curb a lot of his messed up tendencies and direct them all to herself, okay? Like, she takes on all of his darkness. She does like his darkness by the end of it. Not to say she wasn't abused or raped, because she is absolutely raped in that book. But their twisted selves, they meet. And all of his darkness that could have been spread on the world is directed at her. So she's almost like this willing sacrifice to his baser needs. And they end up having an HEA with that, okay? So, in Descent, this book also starts with a rape. And there actually is not a consensual sex scene until 71% into this book. Okay, so lay that as your foundation. The Sam Mariano definitely puts the triggers out for this. She's not joking. She's like, this is dark. There is non-consent and dubious consent pretty much all the way through the book. Okay, so that's the level we're dealing with. And it's also a psychopath who takes away all options for the heroine. So this book starts with Haley, who she has an ex-boyfriend named Jackson, and he keeps texting her and messaging her, and he is like trying to get her to come see him. Oh, I want to see you one more time, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, no, I don't want to. And then she gets a phone call from his number, and she finally answers it. And it is from Calvin, who happens to be with Jackson at the time, and says, he's in trouble, you better come now, or he's really going to be in trouble. And she's like, okay, I don't know. So she shows up, and she shows up at the Heaven and Hell Club, which is the BDSM club that these books are kind of based around. It's where like the authors are getting their ideas from. And he kicks Jackson and everyone else out of the room, and Calvin says, I'm going to let you out of this room after I'm done with you. Nobody's going to help you. Even by coming in this club, you've given consent for whatever I'm going to do, which is not true. This is not a BDSM story at all. Like, this time, too, the author even says it in the book. Sam Mariano says at one point, when the heroine's like, so do you like BDSM? And he's like, no, because the sub can end it at any time, and I don't want sexual interactions where the woman can stop it. Okay, so we said it. He previously has dabbled in BDSM, though, because that is the only way that he could get the non-consensual experience that he wanted, by doing consensual non-consent. Well, he doesn't want consensual non-consent anymore. He wants a rape fantasy. He wants to rape someone. Okay? That's what this book is. And he had gotten a look of Hallie at a Christmas party, because Jackson is his employee. And he had seen her at a Christmas party, and he wanted her. And he wasn't feeling satisfied with his consensual situations before. Women would just give him whatever he wanted because he's rich and beautiful and blah, blah, blah. And he wanted Hallie. So he takes her, and he rapes her. And then he decides that he's obsessed with her. He does let her leave. He takes her home, and he says, no one will believe you because you were at this club with me, and anyone who comes to this club lets whatever will happen to them happen to them. And so she's kind of traumatized by this. And then, in the same way that Carter does, he decides that he's fascinated with her and that she gives him all the things that he needs. And so now the psychopath is obsessed. He has found the one he wants, and he will use everything at his disposal to force her submission. And it doesn't matter what she wants. He would like her to be happy. He would like that. But he doesn't care if she is, as long as he gets what he wants. So he takes her. Again and again. And you ask, Jen, why do you like this crazy shit? I just do, man. I find it fascinating. And the thing that I love, and the only way a book like this works for me is if the heroine can match that hero. Not in getting her way. Because we know she's not going to get her way in a book like this, because he doesn't care if she's happy. But the way her spirit doesn't get broken, the way she wants to try to figure him out, the way that she wants to discuss things and try to find out why he feels a certain way about things, trying to negotiate, whether or not he will let any negotiations work is something else. But I love a heroine who's willing to put up a fight in that way to try to see to the heart of his darkness. So, but again, as I said, there is not a consensual sex scene until 71% into this book. It's 519 pages. But if you like Sam Mariano, if you like Untouchable, I think you will also like this book. So I gave this book 5 stars. It wasn't quite a 6-star, you know, in the way that Untouchable was, because this hero was very hard, and because he's older, and this is why I said it's like if Carter hadn't met Zoe, because I still believe that Carter, he's someone who was formed by trauma. He's someone who'd been molested. He's someone who decided to stop letting the world kick him around. He would be the one on top of it. Calvin is older, and he's had longer in his life where he gets what he wants. You know, Carter is still a teenager when we meet him, and so him and Zoe are able to like evolve together. And I don't see Carter as a danger to society now that he's with Zoe, where Calvin very much is a criminal in a lot of ways and a businessman who does whatever he wants. You know, Carter, he's never going to quite be that, because he does have Zoe and he loves her deeply. And again, he focuses his darkness on her. And that's the only part of him that's very dark, is that. Does that make sense? Okay? Where Calvin is a fucking loose cannon. And I will tell you though, I could not put that book down, because I haven't read one that's quite that dark and quite that manipulative in a long time. Like Sam Mariano just does it in a way, like in a lot of ways too, how Adelaide Forrest does, but this guy was. So anyway, all right. And then the last book that I read, just finished last night, was When a Rogue Meets His Match by Elizabeth Hoyt. This is one of the books I'm reading for my reading vlog as well, but you know, it's Saturday morning or afternoon now, so I have to film a wrap up. But this is book 2 in the Grey Court series. This one is a like forced marriage. So we have Gideon Hawthorne, who is like a paid man by the Duke of Westmere, and Messalina Greycourt is the Duke's niece. Her brother is actually that Duke's heir. And because Hawthorne is doing a favor for the Duke of Windermere, he is willing to give Gideon Messalina as a wife for 2 reasons. One, Gideon has wanted her for a long time. You know, he's known her, well, he's seen her and watched her for many years while he's worked for the Duke, and he wants her. Number 2, he wants to be respected in society. He has dug his way up from being a knife fighter in St. Giles, from, you know, scratching and fighting for everything he had, to working for the rich, to owning his own businesses where he has a lot of money, but he doesn't have the respect. And so he wants to marry Messalina, he wants her dowry, and he wants the respectability. Messalina has a younger sister that she is trying to protect, and she takes on this marriage with him with the plan that once she gets some of her dowry money, she'll be able to escape with her sister. The only problem is he's not going to give her any money until she consummates their marriage, and he agrees to give her 1 month before they'll do that. But they're very attracted to each other. So I had a good time with this book. It was fun. The chemistry was really good. The plot was a little bit complicated because there is something so that's the thing too, is that Gideon doesn't get her dowry when he marries her because he needs to do something else for the Duke, something that will ruin all of his chances of a happily ever after with Messalina. And he doesn't think he wants a happily ever after with her, but he does. And there was just a very messy plot in there. And also, this wasn't as sexy or as thrilling as some other books I've read by Elizabeth Hoyt. So I did not dislike this, but I gave this one 4 stars. And I would give this one like 2.5 for a steam level, is what I would say. Oh yeah, Descent was a 4.5 steam level too. So anyway, so there we go. All right, so those are the books for my last week of December 2021. And yeah, this is, like I said, this will be week 53, but we will start with week number 1 of 2022 coming up. I cannot wait. So thank you so much for watching this. Thank you to all the new channel members. You mean so much to me. If you're interested in checking out channel memberships, make sure you check out, I'm so sorry, the link down below. And let me know if you have any questions. So thanks so much, everyone. See you next time. Bye.